Welcome to Car Talk with Matty J. Another Tuesday night, more car-related topics as we do every Tuesday night here on 98.9 Northwest FM. I'm joined in the studio with Riz. What's going on?
Hey, Matty. Good, man. How you going?
Usual, same crazy self. Alan, what's happening, dude?
Just reeling from the... Well, I had a 4-day weekend, but it was supposed to be the 3-day weekend.
4-day weekend. Yeah, someone's like you, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it cost me $440, but...
What? Oh, yeah, the roadworthy.
Yeah.
That was BS, man.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. And James from Memphis Movies, what's going on?
There you go.
Mic's not on? Yeah, now it's on. Yeah, the fade was there. There we go. So yeah, tell us about your lovely experience behind in the truck getting done, because that's a joke. That you were telling us the other night after the show. And
yeah, well, for those of the audience that don't know, right now I am trucking with my old man, and
tell me you wear a trucker cap.
Sometimes. No, I've actually got an Ash Ketchum cap that I wear in the hotter days. But yeah, so due to the new, we'll call it crackdown by Vic Roads and Victoria Police on unroadworthy vehicles, because one of possibly a related truck maybe rolled on the freeway this one time a couple of weeks earlier and caused a traffic jam. Anyway, it's totally unrelated, not related to my company at all. But yes, there's been a bit more of a crackdown. We were in, I believe it was West Melbourne, and there was a six car setup to pin down heavy vehicles. And
so that's with the Vic Roads cars as well, right?
Yeah, so there was 6 Vic Roads cars and 3 police cars. And
jeez, heavy. They went in heavy, man.
They did, and it was surprising because only one of them was actually doing the test. Everyone else was kind of just standing around and pointing fingers.
Watching John Digger Hole.
Yeah.
Kind of,
But the truck before us ended up getting hammered hard and getting full canaried, had to get towed away. So we're still pretty lucky compared to that. We passed all of their tests until the end, where we apparently had a diesel leak or a fuel leak. On further assessment, it wasn't a leak. It was just we overfilled the tank, and when they shook the truck, a little bit kind of popped out the cap.
top, yeah.
And unfortunately for them, that was a bonus. That was enough for them to say, go get a roadworthy for the truck and go get the tank inspected.
Got to hit that quota.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the part that matters is the roadworthy itself is $440.
That puts you guys out of pocket.
Yep.
So how do they actually shake the truck?
It's on a machine, right? Like
Yes.
on the machine.
Right. Yep.
It's similar to a dyno almost. Yeah. And it also it can roll your tires and to test brakes and everything else.
Right.
And one of the other things it does is kind of lifts up the tires and then shakes the truck around.
And it does it to see the suspension travel.
Yeah.
Also, like to see if there's any wear on any of the joints and shackles and all that sort of stuff that trucks have. So,
Yep. No,
I mean,
cool.
you got to remember, like look, what they're doing is good, good in a way, because they're cracking down on all these unroadworthy trucks.
But also, you literally had to spend $400 to roadworthy a roadworthy vehicle.
Yep.
That was 100% already roadworthy.
And I think that's pretty brutal, to be honest.
And the reason why I feel that we were more or less in the right is there was absolutely no fine.
Yeah, that's tough.
Usually, if the vehicle is defective, you're down for a fine as well most of the time. And what they did put on the little list was get tank inspected, not repaired, not anything else, just inspected. So, to throw somebody, effectively under the truck, not the bus this time, say, you come and bring a roadworthy. And we missed out on, didn't miss on a full day's work, but we missed on a few hours of work. Yeah. Luckily, we already get a morning appointment, and so here we are.
You got to go off to Vic Roads, give that in, and then be like, oh.
And they charge you $19 for that as well.
Yeah, they do.
See, that was a surprise to me when I rocked up. I wasn't going to argue that point because I'm more interested in having the truck back on the road.
Yeah.
But that was a surprise thing as well.
Dude, when I was getting my license, Vic Roads screwed me. Like basically, I booked in my hazards and I booked in my driving test.
Yeah.
Anyway, the lady at the counter put in my hazards test after my driving test.
Oh.
And I showed it to my driving instructor, and he's like, "Why are you doing your hazards after your driving test?" I'm like, "I don't know. That's what they booked me in for." He's like, "Go back there and get them to fix it." I went back there. They're like, "Oh, that'll be $16.50 to change it." I'm like, "But it's your own stuff up." They're like, "Yeah, but we still got to charge you to do it." And me was in year 12 and I didn't have a lot of money, but wanted to get my license because being a car guy, all I want to do is drive.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know what, screw it. I'll pay the, it's like more than an hours of my pay at the time.
The hazard tests in general are just revenue raising.
Oh, it's a joke.
The hazard tests are just disgusting.
That test has not changed since like the 90s, I believe.
The screen was so the resolution was so fuzzy.
So which pixels the brake light?
Yeah, I couldn't actually tell. I'm like, if I fail this, it has no bearing on if I can drive or not. It just has bearing on your 20-year-old video.
Yeah.
Dude, my Nintendo 64 had better graphics than
They should get you to play a round of Rush or Mario Kart.
Give way to the banana shell. To the bananas and shells. But yeah, I remember doing my hazards. I thought I failed because the mouse was like really dodgy, so I would barely move it and it'd click. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to press it. And I'm like, oh, I've got to fail. They're like, no, you passed. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, I would have drove out in traffic about 3 times.
I think we've talked about on the show before. Instead of hazards, they should do like defensive driving or something. I can't remember.
I didn't be happy with like a virtual drive test.
That's what they used to have that in the early 90s.
Like a simulator.
A simulator, yeah. Like you actually sit in the car.
That makes more sense.
But then they stopped it for the hazards test, and which is the biggest. It's crap, honestly. It's a joke. You would have done your hazards.
Yeah.
What do you think? It was a joke, right?
Nah, it was like, I mean, it was that bad that I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a test that's there to be done because somebody needs to check that box.
Yeah.
Then it'd raise an extra, $25 or whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a wank in terms of basically it wasn't clear. Old computers, like surely Vic Roads, the amount of money they make, they can have a good program, good perception test. If it was a decent one, okay, but graphically it was terrible. I just thought it was a bit...
Yeah, it's a waste of time, and it doesn't have any bearing on if you can drive. I could do 100 hazards test, it has no bearing on if you can actually drive.
Yeah. And while we're on the train of bashing Vic Roads, apparently they're closing any kind of vehicle testing at their Sunshine facility because they're moving it.
Ah.
So they're moving it to a more central location, but it's purely like a giant office building. So you can do your registration and everything else, but no vehicle tests or any kind of,
What the hell's the point of that?
To make people's lives harder.
It's in a good location where it isn't Sunshine. It's like right where the plaza is, and it's like I remember going there, and it's pretty easy to get to. It's pretty open. You can get your car tested and stuff.
Apparently there are protests going on from some of the local community and probably people that run any kind of drive tests or drive programs, training programs. But yeah.
Sunshine, isn't it?
Yeah,
you
Sunshine.
said? Oh, yeah. Must be Apex.
Dude, I was at Vic Roads last week. Last Monday, I was like sick as a dog, but I had to go do the club rego for the Benz, which is another thing we'll get to shortly. Anyway, I went to the club first, paid my club fee, and then they signed my paperwork. Went to Vic Roads. I was there for over an hour, just sitting there. I'm like, all I have to do is just pay for this, an hour. Like,
why isn't half of this stuff online?
Well, this is the biggest thing. I remember when I moved back from Queensland and I had to get my Victorian license because I couldn't buy a car. Legally, I couldn't buy a car from a dealership because I didn't have my Victorian license. That's right.
I didn't know that. I thought you could because you got an Australian license.
Yeah,
obviously.
Queensland license.
Yeah.
And they've wanted me to change it to a Victorian license so I can buy a car that I need to get on the road with.
You're kidding.
Yeah, so that's what happened there.
That makes me think of what would they do if a person is buying from interstate and tends to kind of drive the car back home or something.
Yeah, I mean, apparently that's okay. But for me to buy a car in Victoria with Victorian number plates, as in new from a dealership, you need And I remember because I had no option, and I was taking a bus and a train and a bus again for about 3 hours to get from Dandenong to like Laverton, and then to try and get that and organize everything and stuff. And even then, I waited. I think at the must be in the Werribee one, I think it is.
There is one in Werribee.
Yeah, so it must be that one. And I waited there for like an hour and a half just to, be able to get my license changed or what type thing.
I mean, you think people on their lunch breaks would go there, and like they have a lot of stuff on at that particular time. So
you have no option. And it goes back to what James was saying. Why isn't all this stuff online?
Yeah.
Like we're living in...
It's not like
country.
It's not like it's a passport and it's like national security level of. It's just like.
I mean, your license is kind of like
but I mean, like what you were doing, you could have just done that online.
But even the license wise, Vic Roads should be able to connect with the Queensland Road Authority.
It should be the same thing.
Yeah, it should be. It should just be Australia wide. But
No, don't start on that because just so people know, I drive Uber on the side.
Yeah.
And as part of that driver accreditation that the Victorian Taxi Association puts on the Uber drivers, they wanted 5 years worth of road history or driving history.
So how you went to prove that?
So I couldn't. So they're like, well, you didn't supply us your Queensland driver's history because you were there. And to do that, I had to manually fill out a form from Queensland government's website, print it out, write it in, fill it in, and then scan it and send it to them so they can prove my driver's history from back then. Plus, there was a fee of, I think, $20 on top of that. But, like, why we can't integrate all of those systems together? We live in a big enough country.
Like, I just think the biggest issue...
A country of 23 million people, I feel, is, you said big enough, but I feel also small enough to the point where you can manage every single person that's driving in a singular system, and you don't have to split it by state.
I just think it's a big wank. Like in terms of, like, I'll tell you a story. A good mate of mine, Mehmet, he's from Sydney, and he came to Melbourne to study, and he bought a house here, and we became good mates. Anyway, he went and bought a Mitsubishi Evo 9. He went and bought it from New South, and he brought it down because we're the same age, and he got his P's a year earlier. He got off his P's a year earlier because he was, he got his license in Sydney. So he brought it here. And wanted to change the Sydney Rego to Victorian Rego, and to change his license to a Victorian license. They're like, hang on a minute, well, you're gonna have to go back on green P's. He's like, why? They're like, oh, because you're not 22. He's like, but I've got my full license in New South Wales. I'm like, sorry, that doesn't matter. He's like, well, I'm not changing my license then. He didn't change his license, and he kept the car. I think I don't know how he did it, but he managed to get it registered, Victorian registration. But surely it'd be one big thing. Like can't they all just be one company? It's honestly
very hard for them to do that. And I guess the funniest bit of them all is that in Victoria you can get an automatic or a manual license when you get your P's. So if you get it on automatics, you can't drive a manual. But what happens if you go interstate? Let's say I went to Queensland. Because I got my learners on an automatic, they put automatic as a condition on my full license over there. But then, when I move back here, it's an open license again.
Yeah, it's weird how they do it here. It's like when you're on your Ps, you're specific to if you've done manual, you can do both. If you've done auto, you can only do auto. But as soon as you get to your opens, they just get rid of it.
Yeah, in other states, they don't do that. They keep that on you until you go and do a test in a manual car. So there's all these...
I took advantage of that.
Yeah.
I essentially ended up buying a manual car as soon as I got my full license and just learned how to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean...
Taught myself, for the most part.
But best way. Look, we've got to go to a break. We're going to go to a song by FM84, because we like to play a bit of synthwave on the song. The song's called Wild Ones, featuring Ollie Ride. I can't even say that word today. We'll be right back after this. You're back on CarTorque with Matty J. That was FM84 with Wild Ones. Now, during the break, we're talking about learning to drive manual, and Alam had a fun experience because you didn't have to do your learners because you already got your manual license. You just took the old Rex out and was like, "Yep, screw it, I'll give it a crack."
Once we purchased the Rex, my dad drove it home, and the next day he was out and about, and I decided I couldn't wait, so I was going to teach myself how to drive. And the gearbox took a bit of a beating just the first day.
That'll happen.
Yeah. But from that point, I think I was pretty successful.
Yeah.
It did start slow and jerky and all that. Didn't really stall much.
That's good.
That was just the one lesson I had with a nice little Toyota Corolla. That kept me, that got me good with just not letting the car stall at all. Yeah. And, it was just a bit of self-learning, a bit of, it was just making mistakes with the car.
Yeah.
And eventually just getting a feel for it.
That's the way it kind of works.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking about hill starts during the break, but my brother, when he was on his learners, I used to have a 1992 KH Ford Laser. Now, Riz is smiling because he used to have like a year or two older than mine. They're the same shape. I think he was a KF. Yeah. And great car. I mean,
awesome car.
It fell apart. I bought it for $500, but that was the one that had the $5,000 sound system. Yeah. Typical people. It was such a people-plated car. Anyway, we took my brother to the back hills of Greenville on his learners, and because we didn't have any other manual car at the time, they're like, "Oh, we'll just use your car." I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. So driving fine. Then he got the hills, and it's very hilly at the back of Greenville, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't get his head around. He's like, "What the hell am I doing?" And he's just like revving it off, and or stalling it, or just like rolling back and pretty much shitting his pants and hitting the brakes. Stop. Anyway, he's starting to get all right at it, and we're like, okay. Mum's like, "Oh, let's go back home." So I'm in the back seat, and Mum and obviously my brother's driving, and we get to the set of lights. on Greenvale Drive, where the hill is. You can turn onto Mickleham Road. I think it's Greenvale Drive. I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's hilly. Anyway, the light's red, so he's like, "Oh crap, I've got to stop." He's like, "Well, yeah, we have to, so we can't go through it." And Mum's like, "All right, just take your time with it. Just feel it. Use your handbrake if you need it." And he's like, the light goes green, like it's going nuts. And I'm looking behind me, and then there's this guy in like a full drive pissing himself on the floor, like he's like dying. And I'm like to him, I'm like, "Learn." He's like, "Yeah, all good, mate." He goes around us, and like by this time my brother's panicking. He's like, "Oh crap, I've just like held up to him." I'm like, "Relax, it's a learner." Like like the guy was chill about it. There was a 2-lane turning anyway, so the guy got round. But this time he's panicking, and he's revved the car to $5,500. The light's gone red, and he hasn't realised, and he's just dumped the clutch.
Oh.
It smoked the whole intersection through the red. Lucky there was no cars coming the other way. We would have been cleaned up. And he's just panicked. He's like, "Oh crap!" And he just went through. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this again." He's like, "I hate this." But then after that, he was all right.
Because I do remember rolling through quite a few turns and red lights when there was a hill involved. Like when I first started driving, I was just like,
I gotta avoid it.
Just gotta go for it. Just pray and go.
Oh man, sounds good. Well, I've got to do a car update. I haven't done a car update for my cars for quite a while now. It's part of my show. I like to do a good old car update. It always seems to be one car and a mechanic, which is always good fun. So the Merc, we haven't done a Merc update. It's everyone's favourite car, really. I mean, the old Benzo. I mean, let's be honest here. So it's got a knack for just some random reason when you drive it, it will just stop. Like it'll cough and it will die. Anyway, it can't, like the mechanic changed the fuel pumps, all the fuel system been cleaned out. He was like, couldn't figure out what's wrong with it because the car would run fine. And I think you were there, Alan, when we went to take the Typhoon out, and the car started and it just stopped, and I couldn't get it started again. But then it starts like an hour later. Turned out to be the fuel relay. So I was driving to work, and then I got over the hill on CarTorque Drive, and it just died, and I just rolled down. And I pulled it up next to the Focus gym there. I ran home, got my other car, and drove to work. And then I obviously got the Merc towed to my mechanic. So it turns out to be the relay, the fuel pump relay, which being an old Benz isn't exactly cheap. $380 for a piece of plastic.
Jeez.
Just remember, you got the car for free.
Yes,
just
I know.
Keep chanting.
So you gotta like add up the costs of all the repairs.
Yeah.
Like, I could have had a better car for this.
I could have, but I mean, come on, free car.
It's a Benz.
It's a Benz. It's a W124. Some say the best Mercedes ever made.
How much would that car cost, like
to buy
normally?
Well, online, like for a minty one's like about $4,000.
So how much have you spent on it so far?
Not $4,000.
Okay, good. As long as it's under $4,000,
it's justification.
Once it's $4,000, you gotta throw it away.
That's it.
Scrap the car.
I need to get a respray anyway, so that's going to cost me quite a bit of money. But I mean, what I've done to it, I've done the obviously now the fuel pump relay. The fuel pumps were done before I got the car, which is good. The power steering box, because it was just leaking everywhere and it was pretty bad. Got that all tightened up. Now that actually turns around corners, which is really lovely. But that was a really, really expensive fix. That was like $900. What else? A few other little bits and bobs here. Air conditioning. I've got aircon now. I had to put new radiator hoses on it, new coolant. I got it serviced. But that's been about it. And it's been. I mean, that's an okay year-ish. I spent about under $2,000, which is not too bad for a Benz anyway.
Yeah.
And most of those fixes, you can expect them to hopefully last a good amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, like the only other things I've done to it were just tightening up. I went to the wreck, I did good old DIY and bought a steering wheel because my steering wheel was all ripped. And got a new buckle seatbelt. You know, it's like a light at the top of the right where the sunroof is. So it's like controls everything. It controls the interior lights and all that. So got one of those, fixed that up. Got to get my cruise control fixed. It works, but the stalk's a bit hack. So I got to get that, and I priced them up. They're like about $100 second hand, which is okay, but it's pretty easy to install. It doesn't have an airbag because it's 1989. But that
doesn't have an airbag. Then you could have just gotten a Boss kit, an aftermarket steering wheel. I'm saying.
But I got that steering for like $20, and it was like pretty good. I'm like, well, my steering wheel.
eBay steering wheel was $20. I'm just saying,
Dude, we put an eBay steering wheel on our Paseo. Oh man, dude, we got on the track day in our Paseo. We had a FOMO, which is like a fake Momo, but it still said Momo on it. We're turning the corner and the wheel was bending. I'm like, oh, this is gonna break and I'm gonna die. Now we ended up getting a real Momo second-hand one for $50. So that's pretty good. We got that on the car and it doesn't bend anymore, which is quite nice when you're driving hard around a corner.
That's right.
should just get like some kind of like a ship steering wheel or a truck steering wheel.
Dude, it's a freaking lanyard, man. I drove it yesterday because I'm trying to use up all the days for the car reg because it expires in a couple of days. So I picked up my old lady. We went to High Point and got some breakfast and drove home. Anyway, I'm like, this car's got the best turning circle. Like you can it's like 50,000 points that turns lock to lock, but it like turns like on a dime. Like not even my laser turns that well. And even my mom's like, holy crap, this thing actually does 360s pretty well. I'm like, yeah, you should see when it's wet. It can't even do it. It's got like no power. But yeah,
Just gotta get bolder tires. That's all.
Oh man, dude, I couldn't even blow off the tires in first gear, like in the wet, and that car. But yeah, no, it's running good now. Actually, really, really good. I picked that up on the Friday night, and then I dropped the Typhoon off Saturday morning. Because I'm going to go to Cars and Coffee with you, which we're going to get to very shortly. Now the Typhoon needed brakes and needed engine mounts. So I got all the brakes from work. Like I got some good T3 DBAs and some like Ultimate Bendix pads. Mm-hmm. Because when you got a car with a bit of power, you kind of want to stop. It's pretty.
It's the most important part.
I'd rather not die. I changed the fluids last service, like the brake fluid to some really high temp performance stuff. So like I'm not going to get brake fade. Anyway, my mechanic's having a look under the car, and he's like, your engine mounts are going to be a pain to do. He gives me a call today. He's like, your engine mount, especially on the turbo side, he's like, the other side's fine, but he's like, you might as well change both while you're there. The reason why the turbo side was bad is because it's right where the turbo is, like right there, and they get hot, and then they start to crack. Yeah,
that's right.
And so he's like, you can't go from the top. If you go from the top, you're gonna have to remove all the exhaust manifold, turbo, bit of a pain in the ass, and the exhaust as well. Like the first bit, he's like, so I'll go from underneath, and you had to lower the K-frame to pop it in because there's just like no room there. And he's like, you think Australian cars would be like a bit easier to work on, but he's like, if this was a normal Falcon, he would have done it in like 20 minutes. He's like, because it's a turbo and I had to drop the K-frame and everything. He's like, it took me most of the day. Yeah. And I'm like, far out, this is going to be an expensive bill. But he's like, we'll work it out anyway. My mum works there, which is a good bonus, so I won't get completely destroyed. Hopefully,
connections. See, my new plan of like getting labour costs down at the workshop is just saying, can I help you?
Yes.
I'll do some of the stuff. You just tell me what you need to do.
Well, dude, that's my idea, but I have like no time. Like, I work freaking for 3 jobs. Trying to get the website up and running for this. If I could, I would. Like when I wasn't working and in between jobs, I serviced my laser. My mechanics, he just popped that up on the hoist, and it's not that hard to service a car. It's pretty basic stuff. If my mom's like, I could even service a car. Like it's not hard. But just the fact that for time and the fact that like I've never done like I've done the engine mounts on my laser. I did the top one. Could never do the back one because I just couldn't reach and didn't have a hoist. But I could do the top right. But yeah, even my mechanic's like, this was like a pig of a job. Like he's like, I don't want to do one of these again. So, but to top that all off, my Typhoon's pretty clean. Yeah, like I never goes out in the rain. Like it's immaculate. My mum drove the other day, and she's like to me, she's like, mate, your washer motor's not spraying any water. I'm like surely it worked last time. She's like, hell, you don't use it, do you? I'm like, never use it. My mechanic's taken it apart. It's like, it's just full of gunk because it's never been used. Like since I'm like, I've never had the need to use it. The only time I used it was when we drove to Sydney that time, James, to get rid of the bugs. So I'm gonna have to replace that as well. So
that's what happens when you don't use a car. As we learned when we tried to take the Typhoon out.
Oh, jeez.
It might just be a Ford thing, though.
That's embarrassing.
My windscreen washer motor also
really
ended up getting blocked up. But the mechanics I took it to, taxi lot, they just blew some water through it. And next thing you know, it was working again.
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, but like I said, I was using mine consistently, so maybe that's why I got
Just
lucky.
get a water pistol and put your hand out the window.
Get a super soaker. Yeah, but that time that was funny, James, because like I never I barely drive the Typhoon because like every time I take it somewhere, like someone's going to hit it or like as Exhibit A.
It's a weekend car.
Well, Exhibit A, when I took it to get serviced, I'm driving home, I got hit up the arse like that. I mean, that's just why do the car gods like hate me? But yeah, we tried the film for the car advice video. We had to take it out. And I uncovered it, and he's shooting. He's doing a behind shot, like with the exhaust for a cold start.
I'm like down near the exhaust to for the startup. It's like, tick, 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 tick. And you just hear me.
He's pissing himself. And he brings the camera out to me. My hands are like in my head. My hands are in my head. I'm like, oh god, this is embarrassing.
And then so instead of like filming,
that shot part of
we should have.
Instead of filming the review, I'm just like, we should just film the RSCV guy fixing
Eric.
Oh yeah, no, Eric.
Hero.
Oh man, what a hero! Shout out to Eric.
Dude,
I reckon we should have just submitted that as the review instead, because then we did get the car running and we did the proper review. But it would have been funnier if we just submitted. We still have all the footage. We should put it on the website.
I reckon we should put it on the website. We should definitely put it up on our Facebook page because it was a funny video. We actually like on the phone with RACV, and because the Typhoon wasn't put with that car. This is before I had Total Care. They're like, oh, I don't know if we can do it. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, is it just a flat battery? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, I'll look after you. He's like, yeah. And like we're like, yes. And so we made like a whole story dedicated to Eric. That is the name of the guy.
We dedicated the video to Eric, the guy the insurance guy who did us a solid.
Oh, he did more.
Good bloke.
Good bloke. top bloke. So yeah, that's my cars update. The laser's still the daily as per usual. I've got a Hyundai Accent sitting in my driveway at the moment, which is always fun. Which is my brother's one, which he's trying to sell.
He only got it. He's only had it for a month.
Better cars came along.
Yes. Oh yeah, better than the Typhoon. Yeah, that's right. The Typhoon's been replaced. So I should pick up the Typhoon hopefully tomorrow afternoon. Once it's all sorted, and I'll have brakes again, which would be good. I never didn't have brakes, but the pads were like pretty bad. And my discs were not warped, but they were lipped pretty badly. And because it's got slotted rotors, they're a lot harder to machine. Yeah. It actually costs. It's cheaper to buy a new set than it is to machine those. Them, yeah. I'm just like, but anyway,
doing too many skids,
mate. If it's all-wheel drive, yeah, but because it's the front ones. Oh man, but yeah, no, it's cars. Why was I cursed with loving cars? Because like they're just so expensive.
That's what you work for. That's what you live for.
I mean, look, at least I'm not like spending my money on crap. So
yeah.
I mean, well, actually, some people would consider my cars crap at the Benz. But no, I enjoy it, and it's it's a hobby.
Good to have a passion.
It is good to have good to have a passion. So we're going to come back after this quick break with Riz this time at Cars and Coffee.
That's it.
What did you think about it? It was overall good experience.
Not bad, but it's not what it used to be.
It's all okay. We'll find out why after this. We'll be right back. You're back on Car Talk with Matty J. Quick break. Just during the break, I had a phone call from my brother. We're talking about all things Subaru. I know for the Bug-Eye Rexes especially, to put the STI Brembos and discs on, you have to change the wheels because the original ones don't fit don't fit over those brakes. But I'm not too sure if it's a specific car that'll have that, or like specific model. So what do you think? What have you heard from that anyway?
Well, once again, the video I watched was an American video, and the fact that he specifically said that rotors themselves, I think they wouldn't fit the actual hub. Okay. I'm suspecting that for some reason, some of this in the States, some of their STIs actually had a different stud pattern altogether.
Good.
And as far as I can tell, in Australia, even the STIs also had the 5x100. So
yeah, I mean that's a bit weird because I was watching good old Wheeler Dealers, and when they had their Bug-Eye WRX, and they put the STI brakes on there, and it was just a straight put on. It just had to change the wheels. So that was the only issue. So maybe it was a specific model year that came with that, or but surely like most Subaru wheels are kind of the same, right? Like
yeah, they look pretty much similar. And according to Redbook, at least the 2003 STIs also had 17-inch rims that looked roughly similar. Maybe once again, as you said, the offset might have been a little different.
Yeah.
So I guess that's something to be looked at. I do plan on changing my rims, so if I do want to change my brakes, I'll make sure I get rims that
clear them.
Yeah, do clear the Brembos.
I know that was an issue with the F6s and stuff. So like if you were to put Brembos on like a standard XR6 turbo, you have to change the wheels because they wouldn't fit behind those wheels. So that's why you see a lot of like XR6 turbos with like Typhoon wheels because or GT wheels. Yeah, because they. Yeah, I've got brakes, but now I can't drive anywhere.
Like just imagining that happening to a person where they've gone through the hours, put on the new brakes, and now they can't even put the rims back on. Like, what do you do? It's the end of the day. Where are you going to buy new rims and tires from?
I think you'd hear a large profanity like miles away. If that's the case, I would be like that. I wouldn't be too impressed.
Annoyed.
I mean, if you did no research at all and that happened, you kind of deserve it.
Yeah.
But if you did your best to research it and you still end up getting, ruined like that,
it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, cars and coffee. We'll get back to Riz. Cars and coffee. I've been to them a few times. I went to when they were at Truganina, which was it was like a skid pan.
Yeah.
Were you allowed to skits?
No.
Damn
No,
it.
you couldn't. It was
What's the point?
it was a truck training center, I think it was.
Yeah, it was a training center. That's it.
It was a training center, and they had a pretty good facility out there. It was good because you could fit all the cars, and it's all in one spot.
Yeah.
Where if you've been out to high voltage carts,
it's in
Ravenshaw.
Ravenshaw, that's it.
So where they are now, I guess they don't have the luxury of having a huge car park.
Yeah.
So that makes it hard because not everybody's in the one spot. You could fit probably about 20, 25 cars in that little car park
that's it.
They've actually got. As in, that's what high voltage carts has got.
Okay, yeah.
They generally get the car park next to that. You can probably fit another 15 cars in that. But then you got cars lined up. There's a road, like a little, I don't know, like a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Right next to the cart's place.
Yeah.
And they just line them up on that. And there's another car park with another factory. They line the cars up there. It's just logistically, it's a really, really challenging sort of spot.
Right, yeah.
And because not everybody's in the same spot, it seems they don't even do the raffle anymore. Well, they said there was a raffle, but I didn't hear anything. There's no barbecues like they used to have, and it's just.
They don't do breakfast
It's
anymore?
just the high voltage carts guys. They've got a coffee shop inside,
Yeah.
and they had a food truck on the outside.
Okay.
But it's
not
not.
the same.
It's not the same. That's the only thing, and it seems the quality of cars is. I don't know. You just don't see the old 86s, and I don't know what happened to the HSV club. Because
they used to go religiously.
they used to go, but they weren't there this time.
Oh.
So I don't know if they got banned or something because
Did it burn out?
it could be. I'm not sure, but they weren't there. So either all of them go on the same holiday at the same time or something like that. But then again, it was a long weekend.
It was a long weekend.
So maybe that's probably why we didn't see a lot of the other cars. But it was sort of average this time.
Any standouts? You said you saw the
there was a RX-8 there.
Yep.
I know RX-8 aren't the most sexiest of the cars. No, but why it stood out was this thing was immaculate.
Wow.
Like
Not driven
one
by
owner,
Wow.
20,000 Ks,
Wow.
manual,
Yeah, nice.
and clean. Like literally, yeah, it's like it's been garaged.
Wow.
Was for sale?
Well, the thing is, why I know so much about it is because when I went there, the Duddens boys saw me.
Ah.
And it's theirs.
Really?
Apparently, someone came to trade that in and took away a McLaren.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an upgrade.
Yeah. Oh, I think this is just a hobby car.
Okay.
So, yeah. But, yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool to see such a thing. And they were pretty open about it and showing me all, everything there is to know. And everything's sort of original and all the books and everything as well. And it was pretty... 2000... Actually, I can't remember.
Was it a Series 1 or Series 2?
I think Series 2.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it was in that gold, like the dark gold color.
Yep.
That real dark gold, near grey, that sort of color.
Yep.
But yeah, that was sort of the standout. They had two RX-7s,
Oh, cool.
FDs.
FDs, yeah, nice.
And
were they neat or were they a bit hack?
both of them a bit hack.
Okay.
Heaps of Supras.
Yeah. Any clean ones, or were they all hack?
There was one that looked like it had been resprayed.
Okay.
In that GDR green. You know that dark green the GDRs come in?
Yep.
Like R34s?
Yep.
It was that sort of dark green colour. They did also have... They had one extremely clean R34 GDR in that GDR iconic blue.
Yep.
But apart from that, I think the rest of it was pretty... There was a 370Z Nismo, but I'm not sure how...
Was it the blue one?
It was a silver one.
Silver, okay.
But the usual...
Any drug dealer exotics?
No, last time actually I did see a RS6.
I like RS6s.
So that, the last time I did see a RS6, but this time there was a C63 AMGS, but that wasn't part of the rest of the cars. It was sort of parked up on the side.
He was there to go-kart. He wasn't even there.
I think so. But yeah, no, overall, below average sort of thing. I hope it gets better. Maybe it was long weekend or whatever.
Let me guess, tons of Golfs? Tons of 86s?
Heaps of Golfs. Actually, not too many XR6s or anything.
86s, I mean.
86.
I mean, that's
not too many either.
Me.
There was
Mustangs?
BRZ.
I mean, that's pretty much the Melbourne car scene now, anyway.
Yeah, and even Mustangs, just
Golfs.
Nothing really, and yeah, there were a whole lot of Golf Rs and
that's pretty
the S3s and one RS3 as well. The Focus group was there for Focuses, Fiestas.
Any RSs or just STs?
3 RSs.
New RS or
old?
Mark IIs?
Old.
I like the Mark II shape.
Yeah, so, look, I mean, there is stuff there. You probably can't spend more than an hour.
Yeah.
If you didn't really know, it just, maybe next time would be better.
Yeah, I'm going to come with you next time because this time I don't have to drop off my car. But I think we should all go and we'll probably do a live feed down there, which would be pretty cool. And
I think as we sort of head into, I mean, we're nearly at autumn now. As we head into winter it gets a bit better.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, I think the car scene's a bit better in winter than it is in summer because in summer there's so many things to do. And I think the other thing that was on was Moomba.
Yeah, it's Moomba weekend.
So there's a whole lot of stuff going on, and I don't think it's I think everybody sort of just kept indoors or went away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting to see, the reason I said for was a lot of Golfs is because they're just like every meet. They're essentially the new Honda Civic. They're at every single meet. I'm just they're okay, but I'm just kind of sick of them. No offense to all the Golf owners out there, because you guys are a big fraternity, but they're everywhere. They're freaking everywhere.
We hate you and your DSG farts. Go away.
DSG farts.
Oh man. No, it's really cool. We'll definitely try to get it to the next one. But that's really surprising that Dutton Boys brought that RX-8 down. Yeah, it's a Series 2. Lovely. Oh, it's a gorgeous car. I always love the wheels on the second
it's clean.
Second gen. Yeah, it's immaculate, man. Wow.
And on the inside it was the same.
You never see them that clean. They're all hacked. They're all hacked.
Just really dodgy. This thing was so clean. Even the exhaust pipes were just clean.
Jeez.
So. Yeah, I think it's good to see, even though it's not an exotic or anything like that. It's not a mint condition Supra or.
It's a clean car.
Yeah.
It's something that you don't really see much of, especially in RX-8s. Most RX-8s are on their ass, loud exhaust, or broken because it's an RX-8.
I was initially skeptical when you mentioned that there was an RX-8 there. Looking at the actual photo, it was pretty mint.
Yeah,
something special.
Something special, definitely. That car's got something. I always saw clean RX-8s. I love the way they look. I reckon they're a good looking car. People tend to not agree with me, but I reckon the right set of wheels with the Series 2 wheels, or even the Series 1 with their wheels.
So that was a 370Z Nismo.
Well, what's next to it? Is it like a Tirana? I think it is a Tirana. But the Nismo's nice. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I had a look online, and it looks like some of the dealers have got not the Nismo ones, but the standard 370s are with about 20-30 kilometers on him. So new for mid-50s.
Wow, that's a lot of car for money.
It's pretty cheap now. I'm really, really looking forward to, I think next week is the launch of the i30N.
Yes.
But it won't hit the dealerships till about mid-April. But yeah, really, really looking forward to that car. There's not a lot of cars like that.
Send us a review copy.
Sorry?
Send us a review car. review
Yes.
i30.
Press car. It says press car.
If anybody's listening at Hyundai,
We will happily give you a review, and we'll be honest, but from what everyone's saying, it's pretty spectacular. It's a pretty damn good car. So I'd be more than happy to take photos and put it up for a show.
well, the news came in that the Polo GDI is no longer going to be offered in manual.
Yeah, just DSG,
Yeah.
which is such a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hot hatch. You guys are in agreement with me. Hot hatches should be manuals.
Yeah.
I don't drive manual, but I agree.
Yeah.
Because I know you guys love it so much. I'm like, why would make because it's a performance car.
It is.
Because they want to fart, that's why.
But yeah, I get that DSG is shifts a million times quicker. I get that, and no human will be able to ever be able to shift unless you're the Flash. But it's a hot hatchback. It's supposed to be engaging and fun. It's not supposed to be a bloody exotic
That's
supercar.
why.
It's not supposed to be a car that you're racing on.
That's why Paul Walker shifts so many times because it's cool.
Yeah.
Like not because it's fast or better, just because it looks cool.
And because tuna no crust.
It's not supposed to be a car that you're racing on the freeway. You listening, you golf fanboys?
Yes.
Racing with the DSGs on the freeway? Yeah.
It's when I read that, I'm just like, that's kind of like the last nail in the coffin. For
That
me
being
for-
said, if you're buying a Polo GTI, is it because you can't afford the Golf?
No, the Polo GTI is a good car.
Yeah?
Well, the current model is a good car.
Well, the new one that's coming out, because the new Polo itself is bigger than the last generation, it's getting very close to the Golf now.
It's pretty much if you want it close to an original Golf size, you buy a Polo. It's as simple as that. But in terms of, they had this issue before. Skoda with the Fabia RS, I think it was the previous one, was a DSG only, I believe. Or was it the previous GDI Polo? It was the previous GDI Polo.
Yeah.
And it didn't sell well because it was just only offered as a DSG. And when the Fiesta ST came out, it crushed it, and it was like a waiting list on it. So there was a demand.
In Australia, I don't know if you're listening, just pull your head out.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that, like the fans want a manual, a more engaging car. You can't... It sounds good, but when you're doing chap laps, it's not that good.
No.
Like, it just doesn't feel as engaged, and that's what you need. Like, and that's why I guess I commend Hyundai for looking at something like that, where only offering a manual for the first couple of years, which is cool.
Ford do it with all their hot hatches, manual only.
Definitely.
I read the comments on, there's no automatic option. Well, that's going to be out of why this Golf R then. I'm like, yeah, but if you're in the market for a hot hatchback, you're after an engaging and fun car. You're not after stick it in drive. Like if I want that, I'm going to go buy a C63 or something. Like I'm going to buy like a car that only comes with an automatic, but it's like I can waft home in. Not in a raughty hot hatch. It just does my head in. The previous gen Clio RS, the current gen, it's still for sale. Same issue, only DSG. And how many of them do you see? You don't see many.
Well, I'm leaning more towards a Swift Sport then. If it comes in a manual, which I don't know if it does. I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
I'm pretty sure it does, yeah.
So that's hopefully under mid-20s for that.
Well, things with the Swift Sports, they've always been that little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But now they've got the performance to back it up. They're using turbo engines now, so...
Is the turbo engine just for the Swift Sport or also the regular Swift?
I believe they're using the regular Swifts as well, but this is it's a different one because every car company's going to turbo technology now. So
Honda is as well. I mean, with the Civics and stuff. Speaking of which, last month, just quickly, Honda's sales were 55% up compared to the same time last year. So it's February in 2017 versus 2018. So they're kicking some real goals, and I think part of it is to do with the 7-year warranty they're offering for a limited time.
Completely agree. The good consumer advice there. If you want a reliable car, but that's gonna live the 7 years comfortably, definitely get a Honda. But Honda, you're right. Honda's kicking goals. They've really come back strong in these last couple of years.
They've got a product now. Before they didn't have product, and that's what Nissan's missing. That's what Ford's missing. Nissan
is the car company now that I think's done. They have nothing I want to buy. The 370 is like an old car. The GDR is an old car, but I'm never going to be able to afford it.
It's unaffordable.
So it's their whole range is just SUVs. You go to their website now, and there's just SUVs except for the 370.
Playing it safe.
But I'm like,
how dare you disregard the Qashqai and how good it is?
I'm sorry.
What about the Juke?
The one person that owns the Qashqai wants to sell it, so just that I know of. So.
The Nissan Juke. That's another one. I was with my mum at High Point yesterday, walking back to the Merc, and there was a yellow Juke in the car park. She's like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, oh, this is Nissan Juke. She's like, Nissan Juke? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I've never heard of them.
Nissan Joke.
Nissan Joke, yeah.
Joke, yeah.
Yeah, I made that joke. I made that inverted commas joke to her, and she's just like, what? I'm like, don't worry, it's an inside car joke. We're gonna go to a last break, and then we'll come back right after this. You're back on CarTorque with Riz and James.
Oh god.
Look at the versatility. This man.
We're talking about Nissan's current lineup, and we don't get the Cube here in Australia. But he's like, we're looking at the Nissan Cube. And we're like, yeah, you're gonna be pulling all the girls at the club with the Nissan Cube.
Wow.
James looked up what the Nissan Juke was.
I looked up the Nissan Juke.
He just freezes. What the hell is that?
Why?
Awestruck.
Oh man. But you know what? I reckon the Duke's got like a little charm to it because it's kind of funky
It's
looking.
unique.
It's
and
unique.
Other car companies have tried to. I think Renault. Who made the Cactus?
Yeah, it was Renault. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cactus, they tried to do that. But yeah, I mean, look. To be honest, that car was ahead of its time, Duke. And why I say that? Look at the CHR.
Yeah.
Look at the HRV.
I agree.
Because look at the Kona.
Yeah.
You look at all of those cars, and they're sort of.
And you think, what's wrong with the person buying this?
Well, it's who they're targeting, right? So
Exactly, people that have something wrong with them. Something wrong.
But
like, do not stay near that person. Do not talk to that person. Do not marry that person. If you're married to that person, divorce that person.
Well, it's everything that's on. It's like it's on. All the small SUVs are basically hatches on stilts, and that's
what they are.
all the rest of them, including. So Duke was the first one.
Yeah. Duke was based off Pulsar platform, wasn't it? It might have been. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that.
It's not the Micra.
But I definitely got a soft spot for the Duke, just because it's super duper ugly. That it's kind of cool. But yeah, apart from that, like as previously mentioned, the rest of the Nissan range, I have no interest in.
Wait, did they start the Turbo Pulsar?
No, they stopped selling the
There's
Pulsar.
all Pulsars and Micras
And Micras.
Not the Pulse.
and Ultima.
Yeah, they stopped the Ultima as well.
But even the Pulsars, like that was an iconic car for Nissan because that was their Corolla equivalent.
It was. Yeah.
You know,
That was their bread and butter vehicle.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
A
And it
blue
was.
Triple S Pulsar was the thing to have as a P plater.
Oh yeah, it still is a thing.
Triple
To have.
S.
Dude, Triple S was lighting back in the day, like SR20.
Yeah, was it S15 engine, right?
Yeah,
Without the turbo.
without the turbo. It was an NASR. Yeah, they were bloody quick cars. Like, a mate of mine had one, and we had a lot of fun in that car. It was a quick car.
I remember one guy was telling me about it. The guys I used to hang around with. You know the S bend around Caulfield? There's a big S bend on Dandenong Road.
Yes.
As you go around next to the tracks, and it says 40. Advisory speed limit is 40.
It's advisory.
And he was bragging about doing 120 at that time around there, and this thing would stick to the ground. Like it was just crazy.
They were good little cars. I think Nissan. Ever since when they went to Tita, which is essentially a Pulsar, but they just named it the Tita for some unknown reason. They lost their small car market, and they never got it back. The Micra was not a great car. They had another small car that was called started with A. Almira.
Yes, I do remember those. But they were like sort of in between the Pulsar and the
Micra.
No, the other one we just mentioned.
Tita. Yeah,
they were in between that.
And then they brought back the Pulsar. So I thought a couple of years ago, like Nissan were like coming back to they even brought the Triple S back.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, no,
nothing.
You just go and buy an Infinity now? Or?
Well, Infinity is the same thing. There's no Infinities that I'm kind of interested in.
Infinities, I think, sold 28 cars last month in Australia.
Tell me how often do you see an Infinity? I see once.
Does the dealership count?
No, but no, seriously, but there is an Infinity. I don't know, it's QX60 or something. Yeah. That coupe-looking thing.
Yeah.
That looks pretty good in person.
Yeah, I don't mind their sedans or their coupes, but
the rest of the range, no, it's not selling. It's just they're not branding it right, and they're trying to copy a little bit of the Lexus front now.
It's not going to happen.
No,
Lexus has got that market down pat. I mean, if Toyota can bring back Supra and bring back Toyota was in a massive slump. They were in a lot of trouble in terms of respect, I guess. They still made the sales. I mean, they sell 1 million Corollas a day. Not really, but that's it's essentially like they sell that many of them. But they're actually kind of bringing it back. Nissan is just like, well, we're just going to sell SUVs, and you're going to buy them because they're SUVs. But they don't have a product.
No, they don't have a product line. The problem is the dealerships are struggling as well. So, and Honda, on the other hand, going back to Honda, they've got a good product. They've got a limited amount of dealerships, and they're just getting rid of them. And that's the thing. Like, bold with the new Civic, but it's moving in the right direction.
In terms of, I'll end up on this because we're out of time. But the Focus RS have stopped production. They stopped production in like over a month ago now. So the last of the stock is pretty much at dealers.
Right.
If you want probably arguably the best, most engaging hyper hatch, I should say, of this generation, try to get your hands on and get a good deal because they're still lingering around dealers. That'd be my bit of consumer advice.
Trading in your Benzo?
If I took that to them, they would laugh at me. Oh man,
I've been in that situation where they've laughed at your car for a trade-in.
Okay?
Yeah, it was a 1990 Toyota Camry, lovely blue. There's some rust. They literally were giving us what the Rego was worth.
Gotta love the Camry.
What the remainder of the Rego was worth. So yeah.
But see, I've been in the opposite of that. I took my Typhoon. I was with Grass. I took my Typhoon down to a Ford dealership. I'm not gonna say which one. And I just bought it like a month before, and I was with a good friend on the show, Adam Grasso, and we went to check out the Fiesta ST because it just came out at that stage. And I was like, oh, I'm just having a look. Like, you got anything to trade in? I'm like, no, really. He's like, what car did you bring? I'm like, the Typhoon. He's like, well, you want us to price it up for you? They offered me pretty much what I paid for it. I'm like, holy crap, this is a dealer offered me what I actually paid retail for a car. But it turns out the actual manager of the dealership wanted it. I was just like, okay. I got calls for like 3 months afterwards.
Don't leave your number.
Well, now you know if you want a Focus RS to go to that dealership.
If you got a Typhoon,
I want an RS.
buy the Typhoon first, then go to the dealership and hope the manager's still working.
Does this manager still working? No, he's moved on.
He's
Crap.
deceased.
We're out of time, guys. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
So it's a
Awesome.
pleasure.
Thanks, Matty.
Stay tuned for other shows we're going to hear on 98.9 Northwest FM. Like and share our Facebook page. It's CarTorque, TORQE with Matty J. If you've missed any of our previous episodes, we're on Shan Engine, or just there's a link on our Facebook page as well as iTunes. If you just type in the CarTorque with Matty J on Google, you'll find us on many podcasting avenues. So by all means, go through there. We've got our website coming. You guys have seen had a sneak peek.
Yep.
Looking good.
Looking good.
It's getting there, so we're going to need some more cars to review. So we're going to probably try to contact some dealers and get into testing cars. James, give your show a plug before we head off.
Man vs. Movies every Tuesday 6 p.m. on 98.9 Northwest FM. Please like and share the Man vs. Movies Facebook page, and you can find the podcast on iTunes, Shout Engine, or on your regular podcasting app.
And give Carlip a plug, Reese, because you're up on Facebook now.
Yeah, so Carloop, that's the little tech startup that I'm working on, trying to improve the experience that car buyers have, and they're sort of researching or getting a car from a dealership. Check us out on Facebook. It's Carloop AU. And yeah, we're not far from launching. You'll hear more soon.
Yes, we're going to be keeping you up to date on the podcast with that.
Awesome.
Which is going to be good because we're going to be going places. Alan, got anything to plug while we're plugging everybody's show and everybody's stuff?
Be kind to one another. That's all I'll say.
Rexy's forever.
Rexy's forever. No, he's going to get tuna no crust. This has been CarTorque with Matty J. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you same time next week, 7 p.m. Take it easy.
This is professional radio, gentlemen.
And it's front-wheel drive.
Scotty, have you got anyone you want to thank?
Just myself.
And now we do the after hours. Dun, dun, dun.
Gentlemen, what would you go for?
Dacia Sandero.
Okay, and because it's not a supercar.
But it is.
It's not.
Automotive perfection comes in the form of two letters, A and U.
Long live my LTD!